Hi there, fellow theorists. It's Neil here again, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at the ThinkOrSwim interface, give you a tour, take a look at some of the settings, and then really help you start to feel comfortable with being in that environment. Because I guess it would be kind of like getting in the cockpit of a fighter airplane and then not knowing what to touch, right? So without further ado, let's hop into the computer screen and give it a whirl. So here we are in my computer, and we're going to take a look. We're going to first launch ThinkOrSwim. So I have it down here in my taskbar for the quick launch. Depending on how you installed it, if you wanted to watch a previous video where we installed it, I'll put a card up there for you right about now. You can decide whether or not you wanted it in your taskbar or if you wanted it in your start menu. I chose not to have it in my start menu or on my desktop, whatever your preference. So once again, once we launch the application, we'll need to log in. You're going to use whatever username and password combination that you came up with. There's mine. And I have this toggled over to paper money once again. All right, and so this is where we left off. In our previous video, this is the home screen. And you can see that the screen is divided up into two main areas. We have a sidebar on the left-hand side, and then this main stage, if you would, right? So let's obviously take a look left to right here. We see that we are in simulated trading, which is awesome. So we can put all the theory to the test without any of the risk. Sadly, that means none of the gains too, but that's okay because this is us proving, a system rather than leaping in with our eyes closed like most of us do with our investments when we hand them over to someone else to do. So we see that we're connected right now. As a reminder, we need to be connected to the internet, right? We are using delayed data, all right, because we're in simulated trading, right? It gives you the date and time. Yes. See, I'm a working guy, so I record these videos before I head out to work. All right, and we can see that we have different accounts. We see we have access to a margin account and an IRA account, which is pretty cool that you can simulate what it would be like to trade because you have different restrictions based on the account types. Here is how you get to this home screen, this little button here, any sort of messages. If you need chat need support or chat with someone from TD Ameritrade, that's a nice option to have. This setup guy here is where we're going to spend some time. Obviously, we have the ability to close, minimize, restore. So when you start off with a paper trading account or simulated trading, paper money, right? We see that we have a certain amount of cash in our account. And that number is different as well if you change to the IRA. But we don't have to use these numbers. We can adjust these numbers. And I recommend that you do. So if you think, hey, look, I know how much I have in my 401k or my 403b, and if I roll it over to an IRA self-directed, which hopefully you'll eventually do rather than paying someone else to invest for you, right? You can change these numbers so that it more accurately represents what you're going to have to invest with. All right, down here we see live news. These are all widgets here, right? Trader TV, I guess if you wanted to watch some sort of money news, right? Watchlists, we're probably going to keep that. Quick charts. So we can have all sorts of different widgets on the left-hand side. Moving across the main stage here, we see we have these tabs here, the monitor tab, the trade tab, the analyze, scan, all these other ones here, charts. So these tabs each have their own sub-tabs. You can see as you mouse over them, if we wanted to monitor, our account statement or a strategy roller, if we wanted to trade, well, what are we trading, right? If we wanted to analyze, what are we doing? Adding simulated trades, looking at the risk graph, okay? Think back allows you to go back in time and test strategies using historical data, right? So with that said, I think the first place that we should look is over here at the setup menu. Click that, we choose application settings. And of course, there's a lot here, and I don't think we should cover all that in one long video. Maybe we can do these in series. So this will be the one where we cover the widget sidebar on the left and the main settings. right? So with our account here, what account do we want to see, right? All of the accounts. What's the default account? Do you feel like you're going to be practicing what it would be like to trade in an IRA? Then make that one your default account. Or if not, use your margin account, okay? For me, I don't feel the need to pick a default account right now, but you can do that. Change your currency if you need to. Okay, so expected price for single orders. Nothing here really jumps out at me as a setting that I would change. Once again, these settings we can look at another time. There are a few that I do want to look at though. And so we're going to find those. Start up here. This is one I would want to look at. Do you want the application to look like it did when you quit, or do you want it to look like a certain way when you start every time? So for me, I don't want to see this home screen. You might like it, but for me, I'm going to want to see this area here where I want to see my activity and positions, right? So the next thing I would want to do is control the program and how it looks. So you can see there's a color scheme now. This is the default one, okay? You have the ability to, if you prefer, to have a light scheme, right? Or this is a fun one, old school ThinkOrSwim, or TOS as it's sometimes affectionately called, right? This would be the old color scheme. So I'm going to stick with the default one out of the box. If you need to, for accessibility purposes, there's a high contrast version, which will make the darks darker and the brights brighter. Font size, I feel like for these videos, I might adjust these so that it's easier for you to see my screen. And so why don't I give that a whirl? I'll take it instead of the default small, I'll take it to medium and see if that helps. Once I have that setting, if I hit apply, okay, now you see maybe it's going to be easier for people to read on the screen. Now my settings window closed because I hit apply, right? So the next thing I feel like I want to control is, where is it? Orders. No, that's not it. Somewhere there was an area where I could control the default order size. Order defaults. Here we are. Okay, so options. All right, I want this to be 1, not 10. Okay, so we're going to be doing a bunch of options trading. I don't want to do 1 contract at a time, not 10 contracts. So the default type being a limit order, that works for me. Otherwise, those are the settings that I would change. You can change your language here. If you want more or less decimal places, I'm fine with the standard, right? So let's leave those, hit apply. And for our last bit of a tour here, we're going to remove all of these widgets on this side here, okay? So we can do that by clicking here and choosing delete gadget. Gadget, not widget, close enough. Delete the gadgets. All right, and so now we have a clean sidebar. And you might be thinking, well, what am I going to put in there? So, or how do I put something in here? Down here, this little plus icon, we can add a gadget. And for sure, what we're going to want to do is add a watch list, right? So we want to know what's available. But by the way, did you see some of the silly stuff you could put in there? Did you see that? Minesweeper and Tetris? Yeah. So anyway, once you hear and you have this watch list, right? You can select from some pre-built watch lists. All right. So all ETFs, right, in this range here, commission-free ETFs. You might say, I'm looking at certain sectors. I want to look at things that are in the energy sector. Okay, oil, gas. What I think we could probably do is, for now, let's just go with, hello. It's a little finicky when you move your mouse and go to the S&P 500, right? We can see some of these. Now that we have these symbols here, you can see the default setup here is to have the last price, the net change, the bid, and the ask. And you do have the ability to resize this. If you wanted to see more, you can drag like this. And because you have this one watch list doesn't mean you can't have another one, of course. You can go add another watch list. And this time, maybe you do want, let's say, once again, a little finicky here. Let's go with indices just to see what that looks like. Okay? Those might be ones that you want to have. And if you click on a particular one, right? So let's take a look at Netflix. Give that a click. Now, if we go over to charts after we give that a click, all right, notice that it's not there. And that's because we're not linked. So see how this has the number 1 here for symbol link? What we'll want to do is change this to 1. Aha, right? So that might not have been super intuitive, so I wanted you to see that. Now, if we set this one over here to number 2, and I click on Dow Jones, right? And then I change this to 2, now I'll see that Dow Jones index. So that's one of those little weird things with ThinkOrSwim that I think it was important for you to see. But here's your chart. It's candle charts, whatnot. We can take another look at this in another video. But for now, I just wanted you to get a little comfortable with how to add gadgets, how to apply some of your settings. And of course, should you love that home screen, you give this a click and you're back home again. So I hope that you found this useful and you're a little bit more comfortable with the ThinkOrSwim trading platform. We will revisit more settings in this video series as well. And so I thank you for joining me. And if you've liked this at all, please feel free to leave a like. If you're enjoying this, also subscribe if you like, right? Okay, so I'll see you again in the next video.